My official 2025 NFL season tier list. My biggest crime last year was I said the Washington Commanders would suck, trash this season. I'm very confident in saying that. And I would be shocked if Jaden Daniels would be a competitive starting NFL quarterback. He went on to clap my Lions' cheeks in the first round of the playoffs. I wonder what it will be this year. But let's kick it off, gentlemen. S tier. First things first, at this point, I am low-key a Kansas City Chiefs hater, but I think it'd be a crime to not put them here. Kansas City Chiefs ran it all the way to the Super Bowl last year without their two best wide receivers. Rashee Rice got injured week 3. Hollywood Brown virtually didn't play. Both of those guys are back and playing this year. Outside of that, the Chiefs didn't really lose much in free agency. They had a pretty much net neutral free agency. Not the best Super Bowl performance. That Eagles team was disgusting, but there's no reason the Chiefs shouldn't be incredible again this year. Okay, that brings me to the next team. I know they just won the Super Bowl. This is super lame, but I do want to say something. I'm actually going to put the Eagles, like if there was an S- tier, I would put the Eagles in S-. The Eagles lost so much talent in free agency. Now, yes, they won the Super Bowl handedly. I really love this team. You can never take anything away from A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley. That trio would be so good if you just slotted them into any single NFL roster. They would be incredible. Dude, but look at who the Eagles lost. And the Eagles didn't just lose like, you know, random depth players. Milton Williams was incredible in the Super Bowl. Josh Sweat, I mean, dude, I swear to God, Josh Sweat could have won Super Bowl MVP. Josh Sweat was so good. You lose Mekhi Becton, Paris Campbell, Avonte Maddox, Fred Johnson, Oren Burks, Darius Slay, James Bradbury, Kenneth Gainwell, Isaiah Rodgers. Bro, Milton Williams and Josh Sweat alone, if that's all the Eagles lost, that would have been a huge blow. But they also lost Darius Slay. They also lost Mekhi Becton. Honestly, they had a really bad free agency. I mean, bad's not the right word. They couldn't retain all these guys. We already knew that going into the season. I still think they're an S-tier team. I absolutely think they have a chance to back-to-back it, but they did not get better. They got worse. Still get S-tier. Okay, next team I want to put up here, and I'm going to continue to put this team up here, despite their very, very lackluster postseason success. Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore Ravens on paper are so good. They've got the quarterback. They've got all the talent. They've got the coach. They've got it all, but they just suck in the playoffs. Now, this is a tier list. This is basically power rankings. I honestly think the Baltimore Ravens are either the 3rd or the 4th best team in the entire NFL. I just don't know why they can't have postseason success. And it's not like, dude, it's not like they're getting waxed every time. They are losing close. Literally in the past 3 years, they've lost a 1-possession game, a 2-point game to the Bills, most recently, 27-25. They lost by 7 to the Chiefs. They played like shit in that game. They deserve that loss. Yeah. So 2024, they lose to the Bills, 25-27. Here, they lose to the Chiefs by 7. They lose to the Bengals by 7. It was 2019. They lost to the Titans. They had no business losing that playoff game. That's the game I'm talking about. They beat the Titans the following year, then they lost to the Bills by 14. You get my point, though. This team is so good. I want so badly for the Ravens to actually make it. They are my #1 rooted for team outside of the Detroit Lions. Now, normally, I'm going to be a delusional Lions fan, and I'm going to stick my Lions in S tier, but I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to do it this year. I'm legitimately thinking about this. I think we're an A tier team. Now, let me be clear. I think A tier teams can win the Super Bowl. I do, and I believe wholeheartedly that the Detroit Lions have a legitimate shot at the Super Bowl this upcoming year. However, the pain of that loss to the Commanders hurts. And watching our team get just completely diabolically exposed by a rookie quarterback and by a team that we were supposed to beat. This wasn't the Super Bowl. It's not like we made it all the way there and we just lost. We got exposed in our first playoff game of the season. Completely exposed in Ford Field at home. It was a brutal watch. Not only that, we lost Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson was our offensive coordinator. People always credit the Lions and Dan Campbell for all this creative play calling, all the trick plays, all the nonsense we run. And I think it is a part of our culture. I think it's a really cool part of Detroit Lions football. But what we're going to find out this season, was it just Ben Johnson calling all these unique plays and that's why we had a dynamic offense? Or can the Detroit Lions have all this success without Ben Johnson? I'm a little bit nervous. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little bit nervous about it. Outside of that, not too many crazy additions. I mean, we had a late pick with Tyreek Williams, and hopefully we have a fully healthy Aiden Hutchinson. The offense keeps being dynamic. I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. I love Sam Laporta, Jared Goff. We did lose Kevin Zeitler on the O-line, which I really don't like. He was a big part of our O-line. But overall, not too much crazy stuff in free agency. We lost Carlton Davis and we picked up DJ Reed. I would have liked to have seen us sign better defensive players. Obviously, what got exposed for us was our defense. Our defense got ripped apart. So I'm going to say we're a high A-tier team with a lot of upside, and we can win the Super Bowl, but I'm not going to put us up there with the Chiefs, the Eagles, and the Ravens. Okay, I'm saying all this, and I'm missing an S-tier team. I really like the Bills' free agency. I think Joey Bosa is going to be an interesting addition to this team. So they go Joey Bosa, they got Larry Ogunjobi, and they got one other guy, Michael Holt, I think is his name. They released Von Miller, whatever. Von Miller was getting kind of washed. Joey Bosa has been super injured, but I know that a Joey Bosa that's actually healthy is incredibly good. So, did the Bills get a healthy season out of Joey Bosa? I think this team's going to be nasty. What I would really love to see, though, like if I can be really honest, if the Chiefs and the Eagles can just not make the Super Bowl, that would be great. The NFL, unfortunately, is kind of like completely built on dynasties. We watched that with Tom Brady for so long, and now we've been watching it with Patrick Mahomes for the last 6 years. Please, anybody else? How exciting would a Ravens-Lions Super Bowl be? Or a Lions-Bills Super Bowl? I have been saying this for like 3 straight years now, but I still feel that way because I haven't got it yet. All right, let's pop in a few more A-tier teams here and talk about it. I've got Chargers A-tier, Packers A-tier, Commanders A-tier. Let's start with Chargers. I think this is probably the most debatable A-tier. I think most people would say right now that the Washington Commanders are an A-tier team. I'm not sure how you guys are going to feel about the Green Bay Packers up here, but let's start with Chargers. In Harbaugh's first year in this new regime, the Chargers looked really good. That playoff game was trash. Absolute trash. Honestly, on both sides, the Texans and the Chargers, watching that game was like, guys, what are we doing? Neither of you have a chance at the Super Bowl right now. So I don't even care who wins this game because it was an ugly game. But I think we did see something. The Chargers finally moved on from Brandon Staley, which they should have done a long time ago. Harbaugh has proven that he can still coach at the NFL level. He's not just a collegiate coach. I think this team was significantly improved when Harbaugh got there. I don't think you should expect a first-year coach to literally run you all the way to the Super Bowl, but he took them all the way to the playoffs. They didn't play that great, but I think they're going to run it back. I think they'll have more experience this time. Justin Herbert is like the most glazed quarterback of all time. Somehow nothing is ever that kid's fault. And I'm kind of perpetuating that right now because I think Justin Herbert's going to do really well for the first time in the playoffs this upcoming year. And for that reason, I got Chargers A-tier. I think that the Najee Harris signing was really bizarre. So Chargers signed Najee Harris, and then they drafted Amarian Hampton. I think Amarian Hampton could be really, really good. He's the North Carolina running back. He was pretty much considered to be the second best running back in the class behind only Ashton Genty, of course. I thought that was a really good pickup. The Chargers have always had a very bizarre running back room. Once Austin Eckler left, they just had like J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. Before that, I don't even know. I really don't even know. I think Amarian Hampton was a good draft pick. I think Najee was weird. Najee on the Steelers looked very washed. He looked like he has lost some significant steps, but clearly the Chargers see something there. I'm going to be honest, Commanders is low-key self-explanatory, but not only were they outperformed significantly last season, not only is Jaden Daniels actually like a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, which is crazy because he's like 21 years old, but they got Laramie Tunsil. Laramie Tunsil being one of the best tackles in the league, and then they signed Josh Connerly. So they clearly are like, okay, let's just continue to give Jaden Daniels a ton of time in the pocket because that's our future. So I think they made the right call with both of those moves. And Washington did it last year with a bunch of kind of like random veterans. They did it with a washed-ass Austin Eckler. They did it with Zach Ertz. Brian Robinson, that guy got shot. Terry McLaurin. I don't think they even have Curtis Samuel anymore. I don't know. Commanders were able to do it last year. Just straight up do it. And then they buffed their O-line. So I think they're going to be great again. Packers. Now what? It was the first time that the Packers have selected a skill position in the first round since like 2002 or something. They take Matthew Golden in the first round. I think the Packers made an excellent pick with Matthew Golden in the first round. Packers had the weirdest wide receiver room to me. Every team has a wide receiver one. It's just an important part of football. It's why the wide receiver market is so expensive, why all these wide receivers are getting $100+ million contracts. It's a very important position. So to not have a true wide receiver one, to just have like Christian Watson and Jaden Reed and Dontavius Wicks and all these guys basically in the same role of wide receiver 2A was really weird. So I think they made a right call here. I hope Matthew Golden pans out, and outside of that, the Packers have just consistently put up really good performances. I see no reason that the Packers are not A-tier again. Other team I'm going to slot in here is the Rams. So the Rams tried to trade Cooper Kupp. They couldn't really find a trade partner for him. So they end up signing Davante Adams as Cooper Kupp heads to Seattle, which I will say was weird. And normally this would be concerning for me. But the Rams proved last year that they kind of moved on from Cooper Kupp as their wide receiver one. Cooper Kupp wins the Triple Crown, and he followed this up by getting overshadowed by Puka Nacua, which obviously wasn't his fault. I know he was injured. It was such a fast turnaround. I feel like it was just like last year that Cooper Kupp put up ungodly numbers. And now he's just off the team, and he's with Seattle. That being said, I guess what I'm really saying is Los Angeles proved that with Puka Nacua, they've got more than enough firepower. So they might as well just go out and grab Davante Adams as well. They've got that young edge rusher whose name I'm blanking on. Oh, Jared Verse. Jared Verse, who's really, really good on that defense. I thought that when Aaron Donald retired, I thought this team was really going to go downhill, but Los Angeles has continued to put up really good performances. So I'm going to keep them in A tier. All right, I'm going to move into B tier with probably a controversial one, although I'm excited to see what you guys say. I'm going to start B tier off with the Cincinnati Bengals. I literally cannot stand behind signing 2 wide receivers for that much money. I can't stand behind that. I don't know. It's hard to look at a team like Kansas City, who has put up a dynasty, and a team like the New England Patriots, who put up one of the best dynasties of all time. And they did that without virtually any wide receivers. I mean, at a point in time, Kansas City had Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill was on a big contract, and they won Super Bowls with Tyreek Hill. But then Tyreek Hill leaves, and they just kept doing it. So to me, it's like other GMs and other owners would go, okay, we need to invest in our O-line. We need to invest in our D-line. We need to invest in our defense and build everything else around a superstar quarterback. We've got these proven templates from New England and these proven templates from Kansas City. Let's use them. And then Cincinnati Bengals goes out and spends $285 million on 2 wide receivers. I think that was a death sentence. I think that was a very bad call. I mean, I actually think the memes are true. I think Cincinnati's going to have a high-powered offense, and they're going to get shelled. Cincinnati kind of was getting shelled by, like, Cooper Rush. Nothing against Cooper Rush, but Bengals defense didn't make any improvements. In free agency, all they did was retain players. I think this is bad for Cincinnati. I cannot see Cincinnati legitimately competing in the playoffs. Another team that I think is kind of in that exact same boat is the Minnesota Vikings. Let me be clear that the Minnesota Vikings had an incredible season this year. Kevin O'Connell deserved Coach of the Year. I would have loved to see it go to Dan Campbell. And Sam Darnold played out of his mind, so that was awesome to watch. I don't think they can replicate that. Number one, their schedule is going to be significantly more difficult this season because of the amazing record they just had. And they're completely changing their quarterback room. I don't see how the Vikings can just take Sam Darnold out, plug a young J.J. McCarthy in, and just have similar success. I just don't see it happening. These are my 2 scariest B-tier teams here, but I'm going to put them in. I'm going to go Tampa Bay and Houston in my B tier. I'm trying to think who I'm going to put above them, though. I'm trying to think if I'm done with A tier. I'm not, actually. I know I'm not done with A tier because I'm putting the Denver Broncos up there. Dude, you can say whatever you want to me about the Denver Broncos. I think the Denver Broncos are going to be so good this year. Bo Nix severely outperformed what was expected of him. Sean Payton looked really good as a coach with that unit. That defense was so nasty. And on paper, Denver shouldn't be good. I think Denver is going to be a really, really good team. I see Denver going to the playoffs. Also, I think the Denver Broncos have like gigantic balls for the way that they went about free agency and the draft. Like, if you think about the Denver Broncos from last season, for me, I think about the defense was incredible. The offense was better than it should have been. Like, Bo Nix actually looks really solid, but the offense needs work, right? And what do the Denver Broncos do in free agency? They double down on their strengths. They go out and get Talanoa Hufanga from the Niners, which is an amazing grab in free agency. And then they sign Jahdae Barron in the draft. Jahdae Barron being one of the better corners in the draft. I think a lot of people had Will Johnson, I guess Travis Hunter technically, but Will Johnson as the best corner. But then Will Johnson had, those knee injury problems that people were worried about, so they ended up going Jahdae Barron. I just can't believe that they are like, yeah, we've got amazing defense and a pretty okay offense. Let's just make our defense ungodly. I think it's sick. I think Denver is going to be really good. So I'm keeping Denver in A tier. All right, Houston Texans. Houston Texans, I'm going B tier instead of A tier because in that game against the Chargers, they did win that game, but it was ugly. I didn't like it. And yes, the Texans beat the Chargers, so you'd think, why aren't Texans A tier, but Chargers B tier? Number one, I think losing Laramie Tunsil is gigantic. But it's not like the Texans had this incredible offensive line and CJ Stroud's just sitting back there with infinite time. Their O-line got significantly worse. I don't know. I think they got what? Christian Kirk, Stephon Diggs, and Laramie Tunsil, outside of like Derek Stingley Jr. and CJ Stroud. Those were like two incredible players for the Texans. I don't know. I think this could be a tough year for the Texans. Tampa Bay Buccaneers, what's different for them? I think they signed, Hassan Reddick? If I can be honest, I don't think there's anything glaringly wrong with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I just don't think there's anything glaringly obvious that says they should really be that good either. I think Tampa Bay is kind of my litmus test for whether a team is good or bad. It's whether they're better than or worse than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I guess that means I'm saying the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if this was a true power ranking, they'd be my 16th team or 15th. I'm going to throw Seattle right in this mix too. I think Seattle, out of all the teams, probably has the most chance to either be A tier or D tier. So Cooper Kupp and Sam Darnold on the Seattle Seahawks. The thing about Sam Darnold has played a lot of bad NFL football, and he has played 1 year of incredible NFL football. So the question's going to be, now that Sam Darnold's on Seattle, is he just going to do what he did with the Vikings again? Are we going to realize that Kevin O'Connell was just this insane coach that kind of could have done that with anybody? They belong in B tier because that's where they're projected, but in reality, I think Seattle's actually going to show up and go like 12-5 and have a playoff spot and be legit, or they're going to go 7-10 and miss the playoffs and be very lackluster and probably should have been in C tier. I'm going to put the Niners in here too. The Niners have shown that they can play really good football, but they got wiped out in free agency and underperformed last season. I think this is going to be a very telling season for the San Francisco 49ers. If they're still like in Super Bowl mode, let's get back there and let's win this thing, or if they're going to consider like the legitimate rebuild. They lost so much talent. It is crazy how much they lost. Like, here's who signed with the 49ers. Mac Jones, Luke Farrell, Demarcus Robinson, Trey Brown, Luke Gifford, Jason Pinnock, Richie Grant, John Weeks. Yeah, that's who signed with the 49ers free agency. All right, so here's everyone who left the 49ers. Deebo Samuel, oh my God, I didn't even mention Deebo Samuel on the Commanders. It's TBD if that's a big deal or not. Javon Hargrave, Malik Collins, Leonard Floyd, Tabor Pepper, Jordan Mason, Deebo Samuel, Talanoa Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw, Charvarius Ward. Like, virtually everyone I just mentioned was a starter. A real starter. I mean, Dre Greenlaw was incredible. Hufanga was incredible. Charvarius Ward was a super important part of that defense. I don't see how San Fran can just run it back to the Super Bowl losing that much talent. You know, I feel obligated to put the Steelers in B tier because the Steelers managed to have the exact same record every single year. I do think this year's a little different because who the hell is the quarterback? I think the Steelers might have the worst quarterback room in football. Right now, I think it's Will Howard, right? They got Will Howard. So Will Howard, Skylar Thompson, Mason Rudolph. They list Mason Rudolph as QB1, Will Howard as QB2. They get Caleb Johnson. I really like that pickup. They add DK Metcalf. Now DK Metcalf, George Pickens. Who's throwing to them, though? This is one of the first times in recent history that I legitimately want to put the Steelers in C tier, if I'm being honest. Actually, I will. I think the Steelers are gearing up for a 7-10, here's my ceiling for the Pittsburgh Steelers, a 9-8 season. That is the best that I can see with Mason Rudolph starting at quarterback, even if they sub Will Howard in. I like the Derek Harmon first-round pick. I think that was the correct first-round pick for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they're the Steelers. You know, they're still got Mike Tomlin. They still got a great defense. They're not going to win 3 games. I'm actually going to throw the Atlanta Falcons in here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I'll put Atlanta at B tier. I do like Atlanta better than Pittsburgh, but I think Atlanta has the same problem. Dude, what on earth happened with Kirk Cousins? I love Kirk Cousins. I watched him at Michigan State. He's like my hero growing up. I love Kirk Cousins. So this was last season. Kirk Cousins threw the franchise record 509 yards and 4 touchdowns in an overtime thriller against the Buccaneers. This was on Thursday Night Football. This was a banger game. And then Kirk Cousins played so bad for the 4 final games of the season that he got benched, straight up benched for Michael Penix Jr. How is that the same quarterback? Oh yeah, also it's very important to note that as I'm recording this, Aaron Rodgers has not made a decision. Yeah, I think Atlanta's a really unique team because they have so much talent. They can just get Michael Penix in there, stick to Michael Penix, and he can develop. I like that better than trying to make Kirk work when it's not. So I think Atlanta has more upside than Pittsburgh right now, for sure. All right, this is most likely my final B tier team. I'm putting Chicago in B tier. I am a bit of an NFC North elitist, and I am a bit of a Caleb Williams glazer. I really like Caleb Williams. I want to see him succeed and have a good season. They poached our Ben Johnson, and I think Ben Johnson is really going to help turn that team around. I'm going to put Bears as a high B tier team. I think the Bears have the best chance to be the dark horse team this year. The best chance for the one team that breaks out and significantly outperforms, I think, is going to be Chicago. All right, let's round out the bottom of this tier. Browns, Jets, Giants, Titans. Out of these 4 teams, I think Tennessee has the chance because they have the Cam Ward. The Giants and Jackson Dart. I really did not see Jackson Dart as a first-round quarterback. I don't think he's first-round quarterback talent. I would be shocked if he makes this immediate big impact in New York. The thing about New York is they're probably not even going to start Jackson Dart. They're probably going to start Russell Wilson. I don't know why Jameis Winston's on that team. That Giants roster is, especially offensively, one of the least talented in the NFL. It just is. I mean, the one incredible guy they had, they let the Philadelphia Eagles take, and then that guy won the Super Bowl instantly. So, little Jordan Humphrey, Victor Dimukeje, Jeremiah Bedwetter, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, Greg Van Roten, Amir Smith-Marset, Stone Forsythe, Chancey Golden, Javon Holland. I like it. Giving Darius Slayton that much money was a crime. They couldn't pay Saquon, but they paid Darius Slayton like 3 years, 60 mil or something. I puke in my mouth. I don't know how New York pulls itself out of it this year. Jets' new starting quarterback is Justin Fields. I actually kind of like that. I like Justin Fields. And obviously the whole Aaron Rodgers thing didn't work out. But here's the way I see the Jets. Rodgers is still good, in my opinion. Very good at football. Not as good as he once was, but still very good. And the fact that he and all those regime changes couldn't turn around the Jets tells me that I don't think Justin Fields is going to be able to either. I think it's going to be another tough season for the Jets. Cleveland Browns are just in a horrible spot. You shelled out so much to get Deshaun Watson, and now you're literally going to cut him. Or they're going to let him walk, or whatever they do is Deshaun Watson. But they've got 5 quarterbacks in that QB room, and I don't see any of them really working. Technically, I think Joe Flacco would bring them the most wins. If you're a Cleveland Browns fan and all you want is like 7 wins, I think Joe Flacco could probably do that for you. I think Cleveland's going to have this yucky period where they're figuring out who the hell the starting quarterback's going to be, and developing them is going to lead to some losses. What else do we got here? Dallas. All right, I'm finally done with the Dallas hype. I used to put Dallas in A tier every single year. Dallas has proven to me that there's just something wrong at the organizational level. I don't know what it is, but Dallas underperforms every year, and I'm not letting them burn me again. I'm going to put Dallas Cowboys in C tier. I am actually a really big fan of Dak Prescott, though. I think Dak Prescott gets a lot of shit. I think there's a lot more issues in Dallas than just Dak Prescott. I think he's solid. Final D tier teams, I'm going to put the Saints and the Panthers. I mean, what do you say about the Carolina Panthers? I'm happy that Bryce Young got the job back and started to look better. Very happy about that. I think it's interesting that they went Tetairoa McMillan, but I like the pick because I really like Tetairoa McMillan. I think if I was the Panthers, though, I don't think I would have used round 1 pick 8 on Tetairoa McMillan. I think I would have traded off that pick, established capital, because the Carolina Panthers could have taken virtually any position, and it would have been a good call. It is a very depleted roster all across the board, but that's got to be exciting for Bryce Young. I know Bryce Young's excited about that. Xavier Legette had some bad concentration drops last season. Actually, a really bad one. I can vividly think of one where Bryce Young was about to pull off a big comeback, like a game winner. Xavier Legette just straight up dropped that shit. I don't know. Maybe they just want multiple young guys in there, or they wanted a true, like, this is our guy wide receiver. I think my next team to delusionally believe in is the Jaguars, because now they have Travis Hunter. Interested to see about that backfield. Is it going to be Tank Bigsby or ETN, or I think they drafted a running back too, and I'm blanking on who it is. I think Miami's in the same boat. Miami's been really weird recently, man. I used to think Tua was horrible and then really good, and now I have no idea how to feel about him. Tyreek Hill. Also, this was very interesting about Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, in one interview very early on, was like, I need to get out of Miami. I want to win football games. And then like 2 weeks later, he's like, I'm so sorry I said that. I didn't mean that. I'm sitting in Miami. You know? So I don't know what's going on there. It's very similar to Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's like, I want to play for a contender. Cleveland fucking sucks. And then they waved a bunch of money at him, and he's like, I love Cleveland. Arizona certainly sits C tier. I'll take Raiders C tier too. I don't think they're D tier. I think the upside of Kyler Murray is still there. I've low-key been kind of delusional about Arizona putting them up in A tier in the past. Gonna have to see more. But the upside is too high. Kyler Murray's upside is too high for Arizona to be a D tier team. I think if anybody's gonna weasel their way out of D tier, it's gonna be Tennessee or Carolina. Actually, in order, I think these are the only 2 teams I think like D plus can weasel out, Tennessee and Carolina. I don't see how any of these 4 manage to finesse their way up here. I will give New England C because I like the development of Drake May, and I like the pickup of Diggs. Really interested to see how Diggs plays. A lot of people have huge beef with picking up a older wide receiver coming off of an ACL injury and paying him that much money. I think that is very legitimate criticism of the New England Patriots to pay Diggs 3 years, $60 million, coming off the injury. And then also the Patriots take Will Campbell, pretty much the best tackle in the draft. So you protect your rookie, you give him a weapon. I think they made the right calls. And then the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to stick them in C tier too. A similar boat to others, I'd say, for the Indianapolis Colts, which is you just have this quarterback problem. So, interesting quarterback room for the Colts, which is Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. The funny thing to me is they actually, like, those two guys play so similar. I don't, maybe it's because they want a guy that can plug into the offense if one of the others is sucking or is injured. So, like, I almost do get it. But the thing I'll say about Anthony Richardson is Anthony Richardson has underperformed his expectations up to this point. And he's going to have to prove a lot more to get this Colts team out of C tier. Also, famously, Jonathan Taylor did the classic drop the ball before the goal line thing last year, and that's just always a bad omen. It's just a bad curse. Okay, I think I went over every single team. This is my official 2025-2026 NFL tier list. With the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Bills at S tier, I think that might be the same I had last year, except I had my Lions up there. For A tier teams, I've got Lions, Chargers, Commanders, Packers, Rams, and Broncos. For B tier teams, I've got Bengals, Chicago, Minnesota, Houston, Tampa, Seattle, San Fran, and Atlanta Falcons. My C tier teams are the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Jaguars, the Dolphins, the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Patriots, and the Colts. And finally, the D tier, with the Tennessee Titans, the Panthers, the Browns, the Jets, the Giants, and the Saints. All right, boys. I hope you enjoyed. It's always fun to make these. Let me know where I criminally whiffed. And don't forget that my tier list is correct in every way. And if you disagree, you're wrong. I love you, boys. Peace.